Going to cover the news today, and boy, is there a lot of incredibly important news, very weighty issues, and we'll also open the phones up on world events. We're going to get into the very suspicious, tragic events at LAX, leaving 1 dead, 6 wounded, that fits in with more than 20 drills they've had, with no evidence it was coming, of a libertarian right-winger shooting up the precious TSA. And so we're going to be looking at this because it has all the earmarks, all the signature hallmarks of a false flag. And we know the globalists have been caught doing this before. It's called a gambit in military strategy, where you sacrifice some of your own people in a staged event as a pretext to wave the bloody shirt and mobilize your operation against the general public. It is a 3,000-year-old chess move, and it's 101 in military strategy and stratagem. So we're going to be breaking all of that down, and our so-called government has a long history of staging events and being caught, attacking our own ships to get us into Vietnam, Gulf of Tonkin, or saying they were attacked. Cy Hirsch, Pulitzer Prize winner 2 times, of course, broke in New Yorker a few years ago the plan to have U.S. Navy SEALs attack our own ships, to blame it on Iran. Of all people, George W. Bush blocked Dick Cheney from doing it. And there's hundreds of other examples. So the point is, state-run media like MSNBC, CNN, they're going to be aghast that we point out some of the telltale signs of this perhaps being a staged event. Boston bombing, if you remember, totally hands down. Both brothers, government operatives, one of them publicly on CIA payroll, protected for years. Part of a drill we know they were having. That was even the Boston Globe. Our reporters went and covered it, were threatened by Secret Service, who weren't even around the president there. They were just there to threaten people, covering up Saudi nationals clearly involved, and so much more. And for exposing that, they then had MSNBC and others come out with no evidence. We played this clip here. You can just type in MSNBC says Alex Jones behind the Boston bombing. And on quite a few TV shows, they say, I am behind it, and then show no evidence. My lawyer says I could clearly win a lawsuit for defamation, hands down, but I mean, they're so discredited anyways. And MSNBC gets government stimulus money, so I'm just be taxpayer money. My goal is not to win a multi-million-dollar lawsuit. It's just to discredit these people. But the point is they're very upset about us exposing them. So we're going to be getting into that in a moment. There it is. MSNBC blames Boston bombing on deeply racist Alex Jones, and then showed no clips of me being racist and no clips of me connected to the Boston bombing in any way, except for my reporter asking questions at stage press conferences about the drill that the Boston Globe and a local TV station admitted, and the still photos by the thousands of men in military outfits with black backpacks running around during and after the bombing and all the rest of it. So, and the fact that Al-Qaeda in Chechnya is run by the CIA on record, and the older brother was on the CIA payroll, but I'm already digressing. We just see this over and over again. In fact, let me just cover this now, then I'll get into huge developments on Obamacare, huge developments in the Middle East, big developments on the NSA front. Obama is now bragging that he's, quote, really good at killing people. That's big news. So give him another Peace Prize for that. He's really macho and tough, very gangster, so we're going to be breaking that down. But let's first just get into the whole false flag situation. Hitler firebombed his own Reichstag in February 27th, 1933. He was already elected as the leader of the country, but he wanted to abolish their Bill of Rights and Constitution in the Weimar Republic and to have Kaiser Wilhelm step down. So he did get that done using the destroying of their own Capitol building, their firebombing of the Capitol building of the Reichstag to get that job done. It had always been rumored to be a false flag, but a couple years ago it was declassified. I don't know why the West declassified that. Well, actually, I know why they don't want you thinking about things like that, that it was indeed a staged event by Hermann Goering. And then we even know more about Operation Himmler. You wonder how Nazi Germany, with its high-tech military in 1939, 1940, attacked Poland that had horse-drawn carriages and was a World War I style army. Well, they attacked U.S., Freudian slip, Nazi bases along the German-Polish border in Operation Himmler that was declassified in the Nuremberg trials. And in Operation Himmler, they attacked bases at Gleiwitz and others, and would even dress up local concentration camp victims in Polish regalia and German regalia. And they would then, of course, shoot them. So it looks real. And then shoot film footage, 16 millimeter, I guess, for the German cinema. It was where you went to the news to get your movie for whatever a tenth of a mark was, and then you would also get 30 minutes of Hitlerian propaganda, newsreels before it, as they were called. We got that here as well, just our form of propaganda. And they said, how dare the Poles attack us, and then the rest is history. So the point is, when the media acts all aghast at this, it's like being aghast at the sun coming up in the morning. This is a standard operating procedure to do these type of things. And the fact is, we have criminal elements in our government that blew up the Maine in 1898 to get us in the Spanish-American War, that staged massacres in Cuba to then blame it on the forces there to invade in 1898 as well. And then just since then, it was declassified a decade ago that Bobby Kennedy went to his brother and wanted to blow up U.S. Consulates in the South America as a pretext to invade there, because the Pentagon had been coming to him as well, wanting to push that. So, because Kennedy had said no, they went to his brother. So the fact is, you're just knee-deep in this, actually up to your eyeballs in examples of false flags. And you've got the TSA wanting to roll out armed agents on the streets of America. It's already begun. Wanting to set up checkpoints on highways, wanting to set up checkpoints outside the airport. They already search your car if you park it in long-term parking without a warrant. They're now shifting from saying Al-Qaeda is the reason, because everybody knows that's a hoax and a fraud, and our government publicly runs them in Libya and Syria and Egypt and everywhere else. So that's mainstream news. So now they're segueing in the news saying, oh, no, it's veterans, gun owners, libertarians, conservatives. They're going to attack us. And they had 20 drills in the last couple of months. We had an article 5 days ago showing all these drills where the TSA is attacked by libertarians. And I'm going to show you some articles about that and play some news clips, not just us saying it. We're going to show you that they go, okay, the libertarians are going to come shoot us now, and they're the new enemy, okay? It's not Al-Qaeda. It's the gun owners and the returning veterans and the libertarians, all right, who don't want us setting up checkpoints on the highway and totally taking over as a national police force. They're going to attack. Oh, my goodness. Somebody dressed up like a TSA agent came in and shot some people. We don't know what happened. And it turns out, I said Friday, it may not be a false flag, maybe a mentally ill person or maybe somebody going postal. But I said, if they have a drill and if they were dressed up like TSA, it's a false flag. Well, there was a drill dressed up like TSA. It's probably a false flag. I mean, I'm an expert on false flags. Looks like a big, giant false flag.
Everything we said came true. Everything we've done's been right.
So if you go up to Infowars.com, you can see the article, TSA Shooting Narrative Disintegrates. And again, if you question known liars who've been caught staging events over and over again, you're a conspiracy theorist. But everybody in history, including our founding fathers especially, knew that you don't trust big government, big corporations, big powerful institutions. You've got to hold them to task because historically they're the most dangerous things around. Government in the 20th century, according to the University of Hawaii study, killed 262 million people in the last century alone. The term is democide, if you'd like to look it up. That's non-military deaths, not military bombing London or bombing Dresden or bombing Tokyo, not the Allies attacking Germany or Germany attacking England. No. Governments lining people up or hanging them, civilians, cold-bloodedly executing them, 262 mil. So it's always the biggest threat. But you say, hey, we better keep this government under control. Hey, the deficit's $17 trillion, and that's more than our GDP every year, and every economist says we're in deep trouble, basically. But Obama says if you raise the debt ceiling, that doesn't raise the debt. And if you built a business, you didn't build that. And by the way, you're going to be able to keep your insurance. Don't listen to anybody that tells you that. Remember all these lies? And we'd say, actually, the bill says you can't keep your insurance in most cases, and it's going to double it. Shut up, racist. Literally. And you're like, what's that have to do with race? That's what all racists say. They just change the subject because it's a criminal takeover. So you've got the TSA that is outside of sworn officers, outside of esprit de corps, outside of military history, outside of the JAG culture, which isn't perfect, but compared to just a whole new agency and a whole new enforcement arm, that's what every dictator did. Lenin, Stalin, Mao, Hitler, Pol Pot, every Caesar, when he took over, set up his own new internal police force. You always set up a new group that doesn't have cliques, that doesn't have infighting, which is a good thing, separation of powers, that doesn't have any good guys in it, that doesn't have any checks and balances. You create your SS, your SA. And that's what the TSA is. And you laugh at them and go, waddling around searching people? Well, now it's armed on the streets. Now it's armored vehicles. Now it's, you see, that's how this Praetorian Guard gets set up. And they always do it smartly as a non-threatening thing. So many people I've studied throughout history, you can study it as well, would like say, we're going to have a port security force, just 10 guys. And then 10 years later, 20 years later, it's 5,000 troops. I mean, I'm just using one example from the Byzantine Empire and one account I read of some local governor that created his own army that way. This is mission creep. And this is what these agencies do. And this is what all the military-industrial complex, most of them foreign bank-owned, are setting up, is a militarization of everything, where everything spies on us, everything tracks us, and we've got to pay for it. We got to pay for our car to have all these boxes taxing us and tracking us. We got to pay for the smart meter that dials into all our digital devices and surveils us on record. We pay for our own enslavement. We pay in the phone bill for fees under national security that paid since the Telecommunications Act of '96 to have the NSA grids put in. You pay for your own enslavement. And so I'm sitting here seeing the TSA have drills all over the United States of gun owners attacking them, libertarians attacking them. That way they can demonize their enemy. Oh, the people that don't like us are coming here and shoot us. And then magically it happens, and then magically we learn the sister airport had a drill, that airport at LAX just had a drill, and here's the headline, amazing headline out of the Digital Journal, LAX shooter, police trained for exact scenario 3 weeks ago. We have an article up at Infowars.com. 20 drills show that patriots are the main target of Homeland Security. There's the actual headline. I'm going from memory. 20 drills that prove the DHS official new enemy is the American people. Infowars.com. So I'm watching all this go on, and first we hear it's a TSA agent shooting people. And it's TSA agents that have been shot, and it's plainclothes people in suits and ties and dress shirts being drug out shot, so that doesn't fit. And then the story keeps changing, and that happens in a live event. But then the eyewitnesses, these aren't just reporters getting it wrong from the cops. These are eyewitnesses going, I saw him. He was in a TSA uniform with body armor. And I've told people this 100 times. In fact, more than 100. I said last week multiple times, look for a mass shooting at the TSA. I don't know how I know this stuff, folks. A lot of people think I'm actually behind stuff, I guess, because I can figure it out. But, I mean, I could see them branding something. It's like, how do I know a new McDonald's sandwich is coming out? The ads are everywhere. I mean, how do I know deer season's coming up? Oh, there's the deer season ads again. I mean, it's like, the libertarians are going to shoot us any minute. They're coming. And I'm like, it had to be Tuesday. I remember on the show, I don't have a crew to dig this stuff up. Listeners, can you dig it up? I said, if they ask you to go do a shooting drill or a bombing drill in an airport and you're an informant or you're a cop or you're whatever or a citizen, don't do it. They'll shoot you in the drill and shoot a bunch of people and blame you. How do I know this? This is how they do it. The czars used to have drills before the Soviets came in, and before that the Bolsheviks. They would have drills and get patsies involved, and then they do it during the drill in case their people get caught. They say, oh, it's part of the drill, just like the Boston bombing. Turned out a local paper screwed up and reported, oh, yeah, there was a drill of a bombing right there where it happened, Boston Globe, and a local TV station. Look it up. And the people involved in the drill, they're not involved in the bombing. That way, if they're one guy going in, or the one guy from the ceiling shooting people, or whatever the case was, that, you know, they shoot a few people, shoot the guy that's in the drill, then you get to shut them up. There it is, police responding, training plan, but bombs hit first. Yeah, there's the Boston Globe. They trained months before and on the day of the bomb at the finish line. Again, they've even declassified in different government documents like Northwoods how they use a drill to cover up the real attack. It's not like I figured this out on my own. A lot of these manuals have been declassified. Then they say by accident and then reclassified. So when we come back, I'm going to play you the clips of witnesses saying he was in a TSA uniform, and then they say, oh, they shot TSA agents in their outfits, in their uniforms, in their costumes, their authority costumes, and then it's video the people shot weren't. And then there's the drills, and we're going to go over this at that airport and other airports of the exact same scenario, when there'd never been a libertarian who's against the New World Order, Southern Poverty Law Center, Fed run, comes out and ties it to Alex Jones and Glenn Beck and people that don't like the TSA. When I just released 2 weeks ago what was in the Federal Register, but they reclassified it, they accidentally declassified it, that they admit in federal court it's all fake and not for terrorists, and it's for the American people and for capital controls to keep you from fleeing during a depression when everything implodes. These are the border and highway police to shake everybody down and basically take you to the FEMA camp if they decide you've got a designation in the NSA file that they could use in slave labor. And by the way, that's the Emergency Centers Establishment Act and in the Civilian Inmate Labor Camp program. That if you're a doctor, an auto mechanic, you're going to the slave camp with pot bellies standing over you. Are we choosing our own destiny, or has it been pre-selected for us?
As we've moved through history, every great leader has had to understand the potential of information.
Billions of dollars have been spent privately and publicly looking at how to tap into your psyche.
From compulsory state education to the Hollywood media brainwashing machine, we are kept in perpetual bondage to the ideas that shape our actions.
When somebody obscures that feedback loop between you observing and testing it out and verifying it, they can take total control of your awareness.
All of this is happening so fast, you need to be ahead of the game.
How to engineer the opinion of the American people so that they would not only endorse but demand a war.
Oh, there's another one. Another plane just hit.
State of Mind, because there's a war on for your mind. Get your copy of State of Mind, the movie, at Infowars.com. And remember, every order at InfoWarsStore.com receives a free Citizen Rulebook. The government and the interests that run it act like they're so concerned about one dead person, who I'm actually concerned about. I have empathy for everybody who was a TSA attendant or guard, whatever you want to call them. They're not really officers. They're not sworn. I'm sad they were shot and killed. And it appears that this shooting did indeed happen. Sometimes they just say something happened that didn't even happen entirely. That's how controlled the state-run media is. But it is an elementary equation throughout history that governments and other groups stage events to blame it on their political opposition. It's a false flag. It's a self-inflicted wound. It's a staged event. It is an inside job. And then the establishment media ridicules anyone who points out a historical fact that most big internal terroristic events in the last really 200 years, it's turned out, were staged as a way for the establishment to go after their political enemies. Frame-ups are incredibly, incredibly common. And it even came out in mainstream media, and even Glenn Beck and Rush Limbaugh and Michael Savage had to come out and say it looks like NATO and Obama staged chemical attacks in Syria with al-Qaeda to blame it on their enemies. So we've come a long way. The fact that governments and criminal groups do this is a fact. I'm not saying this was staged, but the evidence, the preponderance of information leans towards that, and the timing of it. The drills that a libertarian, anti-TSA person is going to come in and shoot everybody, and it comes to a crescendo in the media to the point of, I said multiple times last week, on record, don't be part of a drill, or if you see a drill at an airport, get out of there. And then It happens. That's all I'm saying. And then the media jumps on it like it's a new 9/11, end of the world. You would have thought 1,000 people are dead. I mean, they can have an earthquake and 50,000 people die, and it's not even in the news. Or there can be fires that kill 100 people, and then it's not even the news. Or there can be a flood displacing millions, barely in the news. But, man, you get one government person shot, it's like the earth split in two and blew up like the Death Star. And that is the propaganda. You got 53 million abortions. You got kids getting sterilized, getting paralyzed from vaccines. You've got all these other health effects. You got 300,000 a year on average dying from flesh-eating bacteria. Isn't even an issue. Just in the U.S., you've got all 200 people dying from honeybees each year. Hundreds dying from deer running out in front of their cars. Are they setting up deer fences everywhere to stop that? No. People die. But when it's the government being attacked, oh my gosh, it's the end of the world, and it's the anti-government people. It's Alex Jones, and it's Glenn Beck, and I mean, it's in AP and CNN and MSNBC and Raw Story, and Southern Poverty Law Center is the one that put it out. Because it turns out yesterday, less than a day after all this happens, the Southern Poverty Law Center has access to the police and a letter stuck in this guy. How do you pronounce this guy's name? Paul Ciencia? So you got Paul Ciencia, reportedly, and he's got a note in his bag that he did this because he doesn't like authoritarian government. That's a quote. And he doesn't like the New World Order, and he doesn't like the TSA violating his rights. And the TSA said 2 weeks ago, they said in announcements, if you criticize or ask us questions or make jokes, we're going to arrest you. That's terrorism. Just see, we're now the enemy. Suddenly it's us. And people are like, well, just go through the security, put up with it. This is a bathing in tyranny. This is a breaking of our will. This is a learn to be perps, learn to be prisoners. This is what prisoners go through when they show up at medium and maximum security prisons, is what the TSA does to you. This is the enslavement, the antithesis of what our republic was founded on. And if you don't do it, you're not a good American. So Paul Ciencia, who's unconscious, we're told, and if he pleads not guilty later and says there were other shooters, like the lone living Boston bombing patsy, you'll never hear about that. It'll be national security. The trial's secret. Well, we know why it's secret. Tamerlan, the older brother of Zarnev, on record was working with the CIA. That came out in British, German, and Russian news. There was a drill. There was a stand down. They set those brothers up, and they screamed at cops, we didn't do it. We're not part of it, as they shot his brother and ran over him and then chased the other one. Then shot up his boat with 50 cops, and he climbs out, and then they had to cut his throat out so he couldn't talk. By the way, I've talked to the police involved, just so you know, ladies and gentlemen. Just like we broke, there was an order by Obama for a stand down. A stand down at the Naval Yard shooting by the SWAT team from the Capitol that happened to be driving by right when it happened a mile away, and were fully locked and loaded to go in and stop whatever happened. National security got declared on that one. On and on and on. This is how they set up the police state. This is how they take over. You want to take over the Middle East? Fund al-Qaeda, have them blow stuff up. You want to take over America? Well, fund al-Qaeda to blow stuff up, but then come in and flip it onto the American people. So let's go over some of the evidence here. But I just want to remind you, they are now coming out in literally hundreds of publications as we speak. It was like 10 yesterday, more than I could count this morning, and it's just flooding. Now, it's all over the news. The videos are coming into our inbox. As they say, Alex Jones is the one that coined the term New World Order. They actually say that in one article. Hitler used the term New World Order first, on record, before I was born. I was born in 1974. Hitler used the term in 1936. You can look it up. At the Olympics that he basically founded, the modern Olympics. See, I'm cursed by being informed. It's like I'm here talking about, I guess, rocket science to the public, and they just think, that guy talks fancy. He's trying to show off. He's a terrorist. I hope somebody in a black uniform takes my guns to keep me safe from people like him. He scared me. Government loved me. Like you're some domesticated pot-bellied pig or something I saw at the Austin Zoo yesterday with my children. I mean, does anyone really buy into all this fraud? All I know is we've got groups that stand to gain from staging stuff or letting it happen, who have a history of doing it, and who have the motive to seize power and blame us for political events. Before we go to break, let's play one of these clips. Here's KTLA with one of the countless videos we have of folks saying they saw the shooter with the gun in a TSA uniform.
Correct. There's two weapons playing a part, and this gunman looked like a TSA agent to me, because he was dressed like them, like a security, a TSA agent, and he was pretty big. I mean, bigger than me, like body-wise. So I bet if he was going to go crazy today, he was going to have his body armor.
We got a whole bunch of videos like this. Let's go to the one where they did a drill of the exact same thing. And I think this is CBS. Cue up the one of the drill of the exact same thing. Yep, here we go.
We practiced to this. Not more than 3 weeks ago, we took every one of our officers, our patrol officers, and a couple of hundred officers from the Los Angeles Police Department, and we practiced the exact scenario.
And I remember being on air at the time, as God is my witness, you can pull it up, and I said, watch them stage something in LAX. I remember on air, because the way the media was smacking their lips and had that look in their eye like the word had been given. These people, unbelievable.
Hello, this is Hank Hill, and I'm telling you what, you need to listen to Alex Jones.
Yeah. Infowars.com.
My judge, what is the secret of the universe?
Infowars.com.
Nothing against the great British people. I myself have got a lot of blood from the Isles over there. They declared that the colonists were terrorists. They were thieves, thugs, highwaymen, that they would be dealt with. And of course, they ended up founding this republic. On the Bill of Rights and Constitution and the ideas of English common law that had been developed by their predecessors, they honored the good Englishmen and women who had stood for Magna Carta in 1215. So we salute the real Britannic roots today, not the fact that the globalists use England as one of their main command bases. Now, continuing, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go to your phone calls coming up here in just a few minutes. I want to make it clear. Governments throughout history and also private groups stage events to blame their political enemies. That's a fact. False flags are a part of history. They're very common. But when you see the establishment state-run media come out less than 24 hours after this tragic event that's been blown way out of proportion compared to disasters 1,000 times bigger, when you see all the scripting and you see all the telltale signs, and when you see political enemies, Republicans, conservatives, constitutionalists, veterans, libertarians, but number one, Alex Jones and Glenn Beck. And look, folks, I'm not in competition with Glenn Beck, even though his show is very similar to mine. I agree with 95% of what's on his show. I don't want them to go after Glenn Beck. If they try to blame him for things he has nothing to do with, I'm going to defend him. I am absolutely nonviolent offensively. Do not start anything. Do not go shoot anybody. Don't shoot cops at a checkpoint. Don't shoot FBI agents. Don't shoot ATF agents. Do not go out looking for trouble. If somebody comes up shooting at you, like Sheriff John Brown, in the famous song talking about I shot the sheriff, but I didn't shoot the deputy. Here came John Brown coming down the road to shoot me, so I shot first. That's a different issue. But we're not trying to cause a civil war here. The globalists are. We don't want a fight with the police and the military. We have more in common with them times 100 than we do the offshore globalists that are manipulating this, and the police and military are smart enough, being on the inside, to understand that and realize there's a manipulation happening here. So they chose Los Angeles for something like that, and that's my gut. That's my inclination. I now remember 3 weeks ago with the drill at LAX, the mass shooting, saying, oh my gosh, when they do stuff like this, look out, it's LA. If they're going to stage something, it'd be a place like LA. I remember saying it. You remember. Go to all the YouTube videos, the prisonplanet.tvs, find it, post it. And then I said this week multiple times, look for a staged attack at a checkpoint or a police station or a TSA line, because I just see all the pre-programming. It's like, how do you know? You always forget fall's coming around till you see Christmas stuff. You go to the mall, there's Christmas music. It's the same thing with the PR rollout. It's just everywhere. The libertarians are going to come to the airport and shoot everybody. Never happened before. And I'm like, wow, they're in all these movies and dramas and sitcoms. It's the anti-New World Order people. They're going to kill everybody. Get ready for it to be staged. Or this could be a mentally ill person that sees the countless cop shows and TV shows, Hawaii Five-0, every show I see, every show my crew tells me about, we play clips, is the libertarian liberty lover shoots up the TSA, murders